All right, if you're in the dive business, you're always thinking about growth, right? But what if I told you the single biggest opportunity out there isn't about finding new customers at all? What if it's this massive 35 million person blind spot that honestly we've all been overlooking for years? So let's kick things off with some good news. And there is some. According to the Business of Diving Institute, a whopping 96.4% of Americans know what scuba is. So our problem? It's not awareness. People know we exist, which is a luxury for sure. But that's kind of where the good news stops.
Yeah, because this is the percentage of people who try scuba diving and then just drop out. Let that sink in. For every 100 people we get into the water, more than 96 of them never become active divers. It's a catastrophic churn rate. There's no other way to put it.
So here's the big takeaway. The thing we have to get our heads around. Our industry isn't a recruitment funnel. It's a leaky bucket. I mean, we are fantastic at pouring people in the top, through all those Discover Scuba programs and vacation try dives, but we are failing, just massively failing, at actually keeping them in the bucket. And this chart really just visualizes how bad that leak is. Look at this. Nearly a third of all American adults have tried scuba. That is a huge number of people getting that first taste. But then, look at the active divers, a tiny 1.2%. That drop-off isn't just a leak, it's a waterfall. Okay, so this is the multi-million-dollar question, right? If awareness is super high and that initial interest is clearly there, what on earth is driving pretty much everyone away? Well, the data points to one primary and, frankly, pretty uncomfortable culprit. It's the experience. The experience itself is the problem. Barely 6 out of 10 people who go diving actually report having a positive experience. Just think about that from a business perspective. For every 10 customers, 4 of them are leaving unsatisfied or even worse, totally unhappy with the service they just paid for. And if you think that number sounds bad on its own, wait till you see the context. The global average for customer satisfaction across all industries is 86%. We're sitting at just under 60%. So we aren't just underperforming a little bit, we are fundamentally failing to meet what today's consumer expects. Okay, let's make this real for a second. Forget the percentages. Just imagine 10 people walking through the doors of your dive shop for a course or a trip. You put in all the work, you take their money, and 4 of them walk away feeling let down. I mean, seriously, how long could any business survive with numbers like that? But okay, here's the pivot. Because this massive, massive problem has actually created an equally massive opportunity. See, within that 96% of people who dropped out, there is what the report calls a lost tribe of potential customers. They're just sitting there waiting to be re-engaged. And this is where it gets really fascinating. Of all the people who are currently inactive, not diving, 52%, more than half, still think of themselves as a scuba diver. The identity is still there. They still see themselves as one of us, even if they haven't been in the water for years. And the scale of this group is it's mind-boggling. This lost tribe, people who've dived before and still identify as divers, they make up a full 17% of the entire adult population in the United States. These aren't strangers we need to convince from scratch. They are former members of our community. All right, let's put a hard number on it. That's 35.6 million adults. Think about that. This isn't some theoretical market segment. These are people who have already been certified. They've already invested the time and the money. They are, without a doubt, the warmest leads you could ever possibly ask for. So, the big question is, how do we bring them back into the fold? Well, the answer isn't another big marketing campaign trying to raise awareness. We've already got that. The key is to stop focusing on pouring more water into the top of the bucket and finally start fixing the holes at the bottom. And that means radically improving the customer experience. So, what's wrong with the experience? Well, the research points to 3 main issues. First, inconsistent quality. A great dive one day, a really terrible, maybe even scary one the next. Second, our processes are just way too complex. It's often a huge hassle to just go for a dive. And third, and this is a big one, an industry culture that often seems more focused on selling gear and plastic cards than on delivering incredible underwater adventures. Yeah, this quote from the report really just says it all, doesn't it? We are not in the business of selling plastic cards and dive gear. These are ancillary products and services. We have to shift our mindset. Our core product isn't the C card or the new regulator. Our product is the experience, the feeling of exploring the underwater world. If we can deliver a fantastic experience every single time, believe me, the gear and the courses will sell themselves.
Okay, so let's bring this home. How do we translate all this data into an actual plan? For every dive professional watching right now, this is your path forward. It's all about shifting from that leaky bucket model to a flywheel, a system of retention and re-engagement.
And the strategy is actually pretty simple, deceptively so. It's just 2 steps. First, you have to obsess over quality and consistency. Every dive, every course, every single interaction has to be excellent, no exceptions. And second, make it convenient. Look, we live in a world of one-click ordering. Our processes for booking a dive or getting gear serviced, they need to be just as seamless and easy.
And this all boils down to a core business principle that we sometimes forget. The most valuable customer is the one you already have. It is so much cheaper and way more profitable to re-engage one of those 35 million inactive divers than it is to constantly recruit a new one who, based on the data, is probably just going to drop out anyway. Your future growth, it's hiding in your old customer list. So I'll leave you with this question to really think about for your own business. In a world where your customers have endless choices for their time and their money, why should they dive with you again? What are you doing to make the experience so good, so easy, and so memorable that they have no other choice but to come back? Because the answer to that question, that's the future of our industry.